What's going on YouTube? This is Ribo at the bench, and today I thought I would try something a little bit different. So I want to do a head-to-head, but with watches. So I do many head-to-heads with knives, and I wondered, does this translate into watches? I've owned many watches before. I buy and sell quite a bit, and so there's a lot that I wish I could kind of go back and film before I'd sold them. But we'll see kind of if these translate. I thought these are two fairly similar watches, so why don't we give it a try and see kind of how it goes. All right, these are the categories I came up with. So similar to how we do the knives, case crystal, the bezel, movement, the dial, which is anything from the lume, the design, readability, etc. Wrist presence, which is kind of a fuzzy category, but it's like how well does it wear on the wrist? Does it, for a large watch, does it feel large? Does it look large? Does it sit on the wrist nicely? That kind of thing. The value, which is something I explicitly don't include in the knife reviews. I thought for some reason it may translate better in the watch reviews, so I'm going to include that and see how it goes. And the intangibles category, which is kind of the same idea as my knife head-to-heads, which is just which one am I reaching for, all said and done, total package, which one do I like better. Now, a couple things. One, the bezel is included on here because this is a dive watch head-to-head. So if these do fairly well and I do more of these, this list may change. But for today, here is the list. And like I do in all head-to-heads, I'm just going to run through those and kind of rank them and see where they end up. But I do want to do kind of a baseline of measurements. This may be ridiculous, but I'm going to measure it. Anyway, and let me go ahead and intro these watches. So you have the Seiko SRP 23J model. You can see right there, made in Japan. But I'm going to be reviewing as if it's just any SRP series turtles. The turtles, just due to collectability and whatnot, are kind of all over the place in terms of price. But it's all the same movement. It's all the same case and that kind of thing. So it's just a SRP series turtle here. You can see 5.6 ounces. I will note this is on an Uncle Seiko bracelet. This is not the original Seiko bracelet. Was not a fan of the original Seiko bracelets. This is the Uncle Seiko Oyster here. And then we have the Borealis Portus Cale. I believe I pronounced this Portus Cale in my original review. I am from South Carolina, so what do you expect? But here you go. This is the Portus Cale micro brand dive watch. Really nice little watch here. This is on the original, very, very scratched up bracelet, oyster style bracelet there. And this guy is coming in at 5.7. I've already forgotten what this one was. 5.6. So there we go. So right about the same weight. And then I'll just do a couple quick measurements with my tool here. Let me flip this to millimeters. So if we take a measurement of bezel diameter, we're looking at 42.5. But if we look at the total case diameter, we're right under 45, depending on where you measure from, which is right on par with the specs, 45 millimeters there. And then the most practical measurement, I think, in terms of how well does it fit a wrist, is the kind of lug to lug this way. And that's 47.1, which is really nice for a watch of that size. The shorter, the better on a watch that size. And then on the Borealis, we're probably going to be the same measurement for the bezel to the case. So we're looking at 41.1 millimeters and 41.5 millimeters. So yeah, under 42 millimeters diameter. And then we have the lug to lug here is going to be 48 millimeters, which is also very nice. 22 millimeters strap width on both of these, screw down crowns on both of these. Let me give some, let's see, this is the Hardlex mineral crystal, or the Hardlex crystal, Seiko's Hardlex thing on the turtle here. And then you have the AR coated sapphire crystal on the Borealis. You have a unidirectional bezel on both of these. You have, if I can get it on there, 200 meters water resistant here. And you have a 30 ATM, which I believe is what, 300 meter water resistance? If not, I'll correct myself in the comments. But I believe that's what it is, because I think 5 ATMs is 50 meters. So hopefully that's right. One kind of funny thing before we start, you can see this is an AR coated, kind of anti-reflectant coated crystal, and yet on camera this looks very unreadable. I can tell you in person I can see it just fine, so excuse that for the purpose of the video. All right, so 5 minutes in, we haven't even started with the head-to-head, so let's get going. Number one, case and crystal. So like I said, sapphire AR coated, kind of Seiko's Hardlex crystal here. When you look at the case design, I think that's the thing that really makes the turtle what it is. So you have a very squat case, even though it's very large in terms of the width. But wearing this watch, it is a large watch in terms of the size and weight and everything like that, but it's really large going out horizontally this way. It is not a vertically large watch, which is what you want. It means a guy like myself who has between 7.25 inch wrists can easily wear this watch because you're not overlapping the lugs here on your wrist, which is a really nice thing. If you combine that with the fact that you have this kind of undercut here, if I can get that, it's hard to get video of that, but you have this undercut case, which is very, very nice. This thing just hugs the wrist. As you're moving your wrist around, it is very comfortable. It wears very, very well. The Borealis is another very, very nice case. One thing I did not measure is the thickness here. So we have a 11.3 millimeter thickness on the Borealis, and we have a 13 millimeter thickness on the turtle. So the turtle is much bigger. But the Borealis, the beautiful thing about the case is these angled lugs. Now, on a micro brand like this, one of the corners that they tend to cut is on the case design, and so you have this very boxy, not boxy, but you have this very there's not a lot of contouring going on here. It just kind of looks like a can of something, right? And so it definitely does look like that. I think it looks all right though. But you have these very nice angled lugs, which if you see this on wrist, really, really hugs the wrist. Let me see if I can get that. So I don't know if you can really see that, but when the watch is on wrist, it really hugs the wrist very nicely, and it wears very well. So I would say Borealis probably has the advantage when it comes to the crystal. The turtle overall has the advantage when it comes to the case, just because of all of that contouring here, and you have just a very nice ratio in terms of the thickness here to the lug width, which is very nice. So overall, I'm gonna have to go with the turtle on this one. You're getting what you pay for here. I should have mentioned the price of these. I think Borealis retailed at $320. You can pick them up. I think I picked this one up used for $250, something like that. SRP series kind of all over the place. On the low end, you can get them for $250-ish. On the high end, anywhere $600-700, $1,000, depending on if you get a limited edition. But I think you're getting something a lot better here in terms of case shape here. You're getting kind of a typical micro brand, cheaper case, although you are getting a better crystal in the Borealis. All right. Next up, the bezel. So here you have a coin edge bezel on the Borealis. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So you can hear that very loud bezel, but it is very easy to grab. It's a coin edge. You can see that. I believe this is a, what is this? Is this a 120 click, I believe? Sounds about right. Very nice. It is a loomed bezel, which is a very nice thing. I don't know if I can really capture that here, but it is a loomed bezel there, which is very nice. It's kind of this PVD coated that contrasts with the case and the bracelet, which is another nice thing. But overall, nice bezel. The one downside of this bezel, apart from the fact that it's a little bit loud, is that it is very badly misaligned. If you look at, let's see, you can look at that 12 o'clock pip lined up to the left of the double baton markers and widely to the left of that chapter ring 12 o'clock. You can also look down here and see that this is misaligned. However, this is fairly aligned right there, and that is almost dead on. And so if you try to adjust this at all, let's see. get it right. Oh, I just did it too far. It's impossible to line up. You can play with it. I've tried. It's one click off. You can get it lined up just about right over here. It's off here. It's off here. It's kind of on there. So the bezel is misaligned. That is kind of a common issue with Seikos. However, I think that this turtle is pretty much dead on. Now, to me, this bezel is very, very stiff. It's worse than my last turtle, which shows you something about the quality control. It is worse than my SKXs. It is just very tight and very hard to turn, although it is very, very smooth, which is a good thing. And so you can also see I wear this watch all the time. It's dinged up all over the place. But the bezel is aligned very nicely. It has a very nice action. It is not coin edge. I do have a little bit of difficulty turning it. And so I guess, I'll give the advantage to Borealis. I mean, honestly, I really like the Seiko bezel, but I think that's just because of kind of sentimental value. I have a lot of Seiko divers. Practically speaking, this one's loomed, this one's coin edge. I think this one has a more satisfying kind of turn, although it's a bit loud. They're both probably about equal, but I'll give the slight advantage to the Portus Cale. All right, the movement. So you have a Seiko movement here. Obviously, it's a Seiko. And then you have a Miyota 9015 movement here. You have a Seiko 4R36. I always get that confused with the NH35, but I believe it's the 4R36. Both of these are hackable. Both of these are hand winding if you unscrew the crown. I believe that the 9015 is a date movement. This is a no date watch, which I bought on purpose, but I believe it does have a hidden date on there. This is a day date, and so there you go. Really the way I'm going to judge these is on accuracy. This is definitely a more accurate movement than you have like in your Seiko SKX series. And I don't know why I'm blanking on the movement right now. But anyway, this Miyota movement is shockingly good. I had never owned a Miyota movement before, but I have a Hamilton H10 movement that's just world class. This rivals the H10. This, I mean, within 2-3 seconds a day when I track it. Insanely accurate. I have been very, very impressed. So I'm going to give the advantage to the Portus Cale. All right, dial. So this is really subjective. So you have this Super Luminova loom. This is the brightest loom that I've ever seen. It puts Seiko to shame, and Seiko is usually the king. It's almost awkwardly so. If you walk outside and then back inside, it is just blazing green, which is pretty cool. That said, it is all flat dial, so there's really not a whole lot going on in the dial. Let me see if I can wipe this off. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to really show this, but everything is just printed on, and that includes all the indices. So the handset I think is very nice. The polishing on the handset is very nice, and it actually helps you read the dial in lots of different light conditions, like right. Let me see if I can get, like if I do like that in person, all I see is the handset there. And so I don't see this bar that you're seeing on video. I just see this blazing handset in polish, which is very nice. It means that you can really catch the light at any time. You have loom on the second hand and on both hands, on the bezel, everywhere. That's very nice. But the typeface on the dial is really nothing special. It's just kind of very plain, and there's not a lot of depth. There's no chapter ring, which I think would have gone a long way with this watch. I understand for the price, it's hard to do everything, but the dial is very simple, clean. I like the symmetry as opposed to the one with the date here, and so that's just my preference. The Seiko SRP series turtle dial, however, I think has a lot more going for it. For one, especially on these turtles, I hope you can see the depth of that dial on the indices there. You have that nice puffy loom. You have those kind of applied indices everywhere. You have that nice sword hand cutting down the double baton, or not double baton, but that double marker at the top there. You have a very nice bezel on the date window, the day date window over here. You have a classic Seiko chapter ring, which is very, very nice. Handset is what you would expect in a Seiko diver. It's very funky, but it's that classic SKX turtle handset, which is really, really nice. And so, and the loom is awesome. I won't be able to get it on camera there, but the loom is absolutely great. So while the loom here wins, absolutely the turtle wins in the dial head to head. All right, wrist presence. So on wrist, both of these wear extremely well. They both wear a lot smaller than I think they are. I will say that the Borealis, to someone who is not a watch fan, looks like it's a little bit of a, it's not really, it looks a little bit Rolex sub to people. I've actually had that comment before. I think it's just the black with kind of that loomed look. But to someone who doesn't really know what they're looking at, it does look like a very nice watch. It is fairly noticeable, but this is an incredibly, incredibly comfortable watch to wear. This bracelet is just phenomenal, and I know that's not part of the head-to-head, but in terms of wrist presence, this guy has it. It wears very, very nicely, understated, but it goes with a lot of things, and I really like that. The turtle is a little bit more noticeable. It's a chunkier watch. It's definitely a chunkier dive watch. It has a lot more depth and variety going for it. And so this one is really tough because personally, I prefer, if I'm wearing one of these, I just prefer the turtle because of that case shape. I think that the Borealis looks like a nicer watch for sure. So this one, wrist presence, I'll have to go with Borealis. I can't believe I'm doing that because I actually wear the turtle a lot more. I think this, because of the angled lugs, just fits a little bit tighter. It looks a little bit dressier, and overall it gets noticed a lot more than the turtle. But yeah, this one does get noticed a lot more than the turtle. So I guess I'll use that as the determining factor. Not that you can even see the watch because of that glare. All right, value. So we're talking about roughly $300 each, depending on, if you pick up one used or new, or what color combination you get, or if you get the date, no date, yada yada. I mean, this guy I paid $300 for. I think it's now going anywhere between $500 and $600 because it's the J model. You can pick the other one up for like $450 something. This one retail for $320. I picked it up for like $250. So they're both around, let's say, $300. And for the price, you are getting a lot on paper with the Borealis. I mean, when you think about the sapphire crystal, when you think about the loom, the beautiful bracelet, an incredibly comfortable bracelet, the movement, you are getting a lot for the money. Now, I think Seiko movements are typically a little bit more expensive than the Miyotas, depending on which one you get. But on paper, you're getting just a lot put into one package here: hacking, hand winding, yada yada. However, I still think that the turtle is a better value for the money. And I think it's because you can see some corners cut on the Portus Cale, especially on the dial. No chapter ring, everything's printed. The bezel's misaligned. You can see some things. Now, there are very nice details. I didn't even show the case back, but the case back on this guy is one of my favorite things about it. This is an early model Portus Cale. They did change the case back, and I'm very, very thankful I got one of these. But you do see some kind of, corners cut, right? With the turtle, everything's there. I think the quality is absolutely fine. It's an upgraded movement over the SKXs. You have this very proven and classic case shape. You have a nice bezel, although quality control's not that great. You have, very nice loom. I think this watch will age very nicely. The bracelet that comes on it is fine, although, most people don't wear it on that bracelet. And so overall, I think the value for the money is definitely on the Seiko Turtle, just, my opinion. All right, and intangibles, because we're kind of coming up on 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. Intangibles, this one's pretty easy for me. It's going to go to the turtle. If I have a daily beater watch, not even a beater, if I have a daily watch, it's the turtle. Now, I wear 3 watches a day, so I switch all the time. But if I'm not thinking about it, if I'm just grabbing something to go, or if I'm taking a trip and I can only take, Who are we kidding? I take several watches anytime I go on a trip. Either way, I find myself wearing this a lot. I can wear this to work. I can wear this, after work on the weekends. It dresses up and dresses down fairly nicely. I think this also dresses up and dresses down very nicely as well. However, I just find myself going to the Turtle. I think just for comfort and for the case shape. Overall, I really love this watch. Both very good watches. I think the Turtle, there's something about the the lineage of this watch, kind of the history of the 6309 and then the modern Turtle, the SRP series, that you're not going to have in a micro brand. But for a micro brand that is competing price wise with this, the Borealis does very, very well. And so they're both great watches, but in the end, I think that the Turtle edges out the Borealis. So there you go. This is an incredibly long video. I apologize for that, and I will see you next time.